How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Sick Eric Tech. Today we're going to be comparing the Google Pixel 7a to the Google Pixel 7 Pro. We're going to be talking about if you should just go ahead and spend that extra money and get the Pro over the Pixel 7a, or even just get the Pixel 7. We're going to be going on over the specs, a little bit of photos taken side by side, and talking about both these phones and how they compare to each other. Before we get started, subscribe, like, and share, and click that bell icon. That way you get notified of future videos just like the one you're about to watch today. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
All right, let's go ahead and start off with the dimensions and the build quality of both of these guys. So the Pixel 7a comes in at about 5.98 inches tall from top to bottom, 2.87 inches wide, and 0.35 inches thin. Definitely a smaller device. Comes in at about 6.84 ounces. The front is covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 3. You get an aluminum frame and a plastic back. You can see a little bit of scratches already on this device with that plastic back on here. And yeah, be careful with this and slap a case on it definitely for this device. When it comes down to the build quality, you will get a little bit more scratches on the back. IP67 dust and water resistance on here, so it still looks good and still feels premium with that aluminum frame. Going on over to the Pixel 7 Pro, a little bit more of a premium design, and 6.41 inches from top to bottom, 3.2 inches wide, and 0.35 inches thin. When it comes down to the 7 Pro, covered in Corning Gorilla Glass Victus on the front and on the back. So that's really nice. Aluminum frame as well. As you can see, a little bit more shiny premium look. IP68 dust and water resistance on here as well. And it weighs at about 7.48 ounces. So definitely a better build quality on the 7 Pro compared to the 7a. And I prefer the build quality on the 7 Pro just because it feels more premium. As far as the back visor goes, it is a shiny aluminum, and you will get scratches. You can see I already have several scratches, and a lot of scratches on the camera visor, and I'd be careful with that. And yes, again, slap a case on both of these. So as far as everything goes with a walk around, buttons are pretty much in the same spot on both of these. Speakers are on the same spot on the bottom as well. Pretty much the same layout when it comes down to the SIM tray. No micro SD card support on both of them. Antenna lines pretty much almost similar on these. You get your 5G antenna over here on the top, and another antenna line smack dab in the middle. Over here you get microphones, same Google logo smack dab in the middle. Camera sensors are pretty much almost the same with that camera visor, although the bump on the 7 Pro a lot bigger than the bump on the 7a, and pretty clean the design when it comes down to that. This is the seat color, I believe, on the 7a, which is more like a baby blue color, while over here on the Pixel 7 it is the white version on here with the silver. And I think they both look fantastic and they both feel great. Fingerprint sensors are in nice spots, pretty much almost the same optical fingerprint sensor on both of these, so they're pretty quick when it comes down to that. And as far as going on over to the chipsets,
The performance on both of these guys are going to be pretty much similar, just a little bit better over here on the 7 Pro. They're both running the Google Tensor Chip 2. And these particular models both have 128 gigabytes of internal storage, but somehow the tweaks over here on the 7 Pro are a little bit higher than the 7a. I mean, you can't have these running exactly the same, because then what's going to justify you just buying the 7a over the 7 Pro? But the tweaks are there, and even though they got pretty much the same specs on paper, the 7 Pro is definitely more powerful than the 7a.
you get 8 gigabytes of RAM on the 7a, while on the Pixel 7 Pro you get 12 gigabytes of RAM. Both of these devices are going to be well, these variants are 128 variants as far as storage goes, and the performance on the Pixel 7 Pro definitely going to be a lot better than the performance on the 7a. But the 7a is no slouch. I find using this device to be very smooth. When it comes down to performance, it can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. It's just not going to be as powerful as the 7 Pro, but it's not that far behind when it comes down to that. GPUs, the 7 has the Mali G710 MP7 GPU, while over here on the 7 Pro you get the Mali G710 MC10 again with the GPU, so a little bit better graphics over here on the 7 Pro. So very nice when it comes down to performance. Again, no micro SD card support on both of these devices. UFS 3.1 on both of these as well. Going on over to the displays. So the Pixel 7a has a 6.1 inch OLED, supports HDR at a 90 Hz refresh rate display, 1080 by 2400, about 429 pixels per inch, covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 3. You do get an always on display, pretty typical on Pixel devices, not very customizable though. Very nice display. Going on over to the 7 Pro, you get a 6.7 inch LTPO AMOLED display, supports 120 Hz refresh rate, supports HDR10 plus, and definitely more brighter of a display. And it is 1440 by 3120 with 512 pixels per inch, again with that always on display. And the display on the 7 Pro is curved compared to just flat on the 7a. So a higher resolution on the 7 Pro obviously, and higher refresh rate. So you're going to get a better display experience on the 7 Pro compared to the 7a, but the display on the 7a is still really good. It does not get as bright as I would like it to, especially when outdoors. The 7 Pro is definitely a little bit more legible when it comes down to indirect sunlight and being able to see your device. And of course, refresh rate is a lot quicker over here on the 7 Pro, but I'm glad that they finally upped it on the A series, giving us a 90 Hz refresh rate. Pretty much the same as the regular Google Pixel 7, is just a little bit of a different build quality, but both of these displays are very beautiful. You can see the bezels a little bit more chunkier on the 7a when it comes down to the bezels. And again, like I said, difference in the screen, you get curved versus flat. Over to the cameras on both of these guys. So here's where things get a little bit different. So the camera system on the 7a is a dual camera system. You get a 64 megapixel main sensor, aperture of f1.9, and it is you do have optical image stabilization on that camera. You get a 13 megapixel ultra wide, aperture of f2.2 with a 120 degree field of view. So that's really nice. On here it's a very wide field of view with that ultra wide. You can record all the way up to 4K 60 on the rear of the 7a. You get a 13 megapixel front facing camera, front and center right there in the middle. And it is an aperture of f2.2, and you can only record up to 4K 30 frames per second on this front facing camera of the 7a. Going on over to the Pixel 7 Pro, you get a 50 megapixel main sensor, aperture of f1.9, again laser autofocus and optical image stabilization. On here, a 48 megapixel telephoto lens with aperture of f3.5. It is a periscopic telephoto lens, so very nice. And it also does have optical image stabilization and a 5 times optical zoom. You get a 12 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2 with a 126 degree field of view. And again, it does have autofocus on that ultra wide. You can record all the way up to 4K 60 on the 7 Pro on the rear facing camera. Going on over to the front facing camera, a little bit of a smaller sensor, or megapixels wise, it's a 10.8 megapixel with an aperture of f2.2, but you can record up to 4K 60 on the front. So very good news with the cameras on here. And honestly, they're both pretty similar. You don't get that zoom quality that you get on the 7 Pro with the 7a, just because you don't have a dedicated telephoto lens. But that main sensor and the ultra wide are very comparable to the 7 Pro when it comes down to pictures. Of course, both of these have Google's processing. The pictures are going to look almost the same. You just have a little bit more different options with the 7 Pro when it comes down to zoom and being able to have a little bit better picture quality. But the differences on these guys is very minute. They're both going to take excellent pictures. They're both point and shoot cameras. You do get a little bit more features on the 7 Pro when it comes down to cinematic video, which is portrait video. You do not get that on the 7a. And as far as everything else goes in the modes, they're pretty much almost the same. You get portrait, motion, long exposure, night sight, and things like that. So pretty much almost the same. And again, same layout when it comes down to the camera apps on both of these. You get Wi-Fi 6E on both of these devices, so that's really good. Very nice Wi-Fi signals. Do not have any issues with cutting in and out with signal quality. And regular 5G on here is actually really good. This is the T-Mobile variant of the 6A, and this is the unlocked variant from Google for the 7 Pro. No issues with signal on here. They're both pretty good when it comes down to signal and connectivity. Hadn't really had any issues with any of these, so they're pretty stable, and the Wi-Fi signal is actually pretty strong. As you can see, full bars on both of them. Bluetooth 5.3 on the 7A, Bluetooth 5.2 on the Pixel 7 Pro. Both of these again do have USB Type 3.2 on the 7 Pro, and 3.2 as well over here on the 7A. When it comes down to the batteries, so the Pixel 7a has a 4385 milliamp hour battery. It does support 20 watt wired charging, and it does have wireless charging, but the wireless charging is like at 7 or 5 watts over here on the 7a, so it's pretty much non-existent. You're going to put your phone on the charger, on the wireless charger. Definitely do that overnight, because if you're trying to top off with wireless charging, it's not going to go anywhere. It's very low wattage when it comes down to charging on this device. When it comes down to wireless charging, the 7 Pro has a 5000 milliamp hour battery with 30 watt fast charging, and fast wireless charging at 23 watts if you got the Pixel stand for this device. So definitely a lot premium and a lot more powerful charging over here for the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, both of these actually have really good battery life. Obviously, the 7 Pro is going to get you just a little bit further, but with the display being a little bit lower resolution on the 7a and that refresh rate being lower, it pretty much stacks up with the 5000 milliamp hour battery on the Pixel 7 Pro. They're pretty similar when it comes down to battery life, just because this device does not have that much to run with that display. And as just like the 7 Pro does, you get a higher refresh rate, a bigger display. You get a lot more to run over here on the 7 Pro. So the Pixel 7a stacks up pretty well, even though it's got a smaller milliamp hour battery. Both of these are definitely 2-day devices. Maybe charge it overnight on that second day and you'll be okay. Of course, if you have heavy usage on both of these, they might get you through a day if you're taking pictures and things like that. But battery life on these are really, really good. The 7 Pro has definitely improved a lot over the updates over the time it's been out. Battery life has not been that great on there when this device came out, but with all these updates, it's definitely improved. Right out of the gate, the Pixel 7a has excellent battery life. So going on over to the audio on both of these, they do have stereo speakers, no Dolby Atmos or anything like that. You only get spatial audio on the Pixel 7 Pro, but you do not get that spatial audio on the 7a when it comes down to Bluetooth and having that surround sound on here. You do not get it on the 7a, which is kind of sad to see. And if you were to go to the Pixel 7 Pro, you do have the option for spatial audio and head tracking, which I haven't tried. It's actually pretty cool. It sort of moves the audio when you move your head. Of course, a lot more HD audio stuff on here as well. While over here on the Pixel 7 Pro, while over here on the Pixel 7a, you pretty much just get HD audio, phone calls and stuff like that. So no spatial audio, no hi-fi stuff over here on the 7a. As far as speakers go, let's go ahead and take a quick listen on the speakers on both of these. That way you guys can see the differences between both of them and see which one sounds better. All right, so what did you guys think of the audio on both of these? Definitely a lot more higher over here on the 7 Pro, with a little bit more tweaks when it comes down to the highs. The bass is about the same on both of them. The 7A doesn't get as loud as the 7 Pro when it comes down to the speakers, but comment down below which one you thought sounded better when it comes down to the audio on both of these guys. So with that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this spec comparison between the new Google Pixel 7a and the Google Pixel 7 Pro. Battle against the Google phones, see which one you might want to pick up. Again, like I said, the 7a coming in around $450, $499, while the 7 Pro busted out of the gate at $899, can be had for about $800. If you're looking in the right spot, maybe even lower than that. So should you spend the extra money and get the 7 Pro, or just save it and get the 7a, which is still a fantastic device. And thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And I will see you next time here on Sick Eric Tech. Peace.